we're looking forward to when you come to perform in Elkins, West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, yeah.
And it's going to be an evening with Gershwin. When did you first get interested in Gershwin's music, and what drew you to it?
Well, strangely enough, I wasn't brought up with his music. I mean, I was trained as a classical musician, and I'd won several competitions and was playing a great deal of classical music. Then one day, I just quite by accident came across this amazing recording of Gershwin himself playing the piano, and I was just amazed at his keyboard skills. It was something I'd never heard before because it wasn't classical and it wasn't jazz. It was something completely unique. He was improvising on his songs like Fascinating Rhythm and Someone to Watch Over Me, and I wanted to copy it basically. I wanted to play the piano like that. The music Gershwin was playing hadn't been written down because these were improvisations. They were literally what he played at parties in the 1920s. And so I had to literally transcribe the music myself straight from his old recordings. And that's how it all started. This was about 15, 20 years ago. And then it just I became totally hooked on Gershwin after that.
And what is it about his music? Is it this bit of jazz or this in between the different styles?
The main thing is it's so full of life. I mean, he was a quite extraordinary person, and people used to say, I mean, he was so charismatic. And when he walked into a room, people said there was one phrase I liked, where they said he oxygenated the room because there was so much life about him. And it comes across in his piano playing, and that's why I wanted to copy it. I mean, as I say, it isn't jazz, but it isn't classical either. It's very hard to describe unless you've heard it. But of course, everyone knows the songs. The songs are very famous. But his whole style of piano playing is very upbeat. It's sort of, it makes you feel very, very wide awake, I'd say.
And even with the pieces that are written down, I know that you've done some things listening to Gershwin's recordings and piano rolls. What perspective does this give you, and does it make your interpretation different from many people who are heard playing Gershwin today?
Oh, yeah, it is actually quite different to the way most people play Gershwin, actually, because for a start, what he's playing is a lot harder, to be honest, than the published versions. He's playing far more notes than most people normally play when they're playing Gershwin. I mean, it's real virtuoso music. It's very taxing to play. And also, it's because I said it's more upbeat. He tends to play the songs slightly faster than we're used to hearing them these days. And it just blows you away when you hear this music because it's so lively. And like I said, I just love playing it.
And in America, Gershwin is known as sort of our composer, being an American composer, but he also, I guess, belongs to the world certainly now. Is there something, or I guess being in England, was Gershwin, do you feel, treated differently or approached differently?
He's always been popular in England. I think he's as popular here in England as he is in the States. I think, if anything, if there's any difference at all, I gather anyway that people in Britain tend to take him more seriously as a classical composer because I grew up with the Rhapsody in Blue and Concerto in F, and for me those are great classical works. I think maybe in the States he's more well known for his songs, but he was equally brilliant in both fields. In the 1920s, Fred Astaire came to England singing in some Gershwin shows, and they were so popular in London, and ever since then, Gershwin has been one of the most popular composers over in the UK.
And when you're here, in addition to the Evening with Gershwin concert, you're also going to be doing some events in the schools and a master class as well. Will you talk a bit about teaching Gershwin to students?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The master class, that's on Wednesday afternoon rather. And, there's a variety of music in the class. There's going to be about 5 students playing different things. And I'm very excited. There's 2 doctorate students, one of whom is going to be doing a Chopin ballad, which Chopin is another composer I really love playing. And then another doctorate student is going to be doing the Rhapsody in Blue, so that'll be very exciting. I'll be sort of guiding them through their performances and maybe give some background information on the pieces too. And I gather everyone's welcome to come to the master class and it'll be a fun occasion.
I think it's always interesting, even for an instrument that I don't play, to see a master class to gain some perspective on the music and the way that a performer has to think about it.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think a lot of people who come to my concerts, they often say they wish they knew more about music because, they get more out of it when they hear more about what's going on. And so maybe in the master class I'll be able to explain a little bit more about what they're listening to. But even in my concert on Friday, I do actually do a lot of talking in my concerts. I always describe the music a little bit and in a kind of light-hearted way, but I try and give people an education as well as a fun evening.
And other composers that I see you've recorded, you've mentioned Chopin and also French composer Charles Alcan. Can you talk a little bit about them?
Alcan's a very unusual composer. He was a friend of Chopin, 19th century composer, who's now becoming quite a hit on the internet, on YouTube and places. I mean, his music, again, it's very difficult to play, but it's very exciting, and it's been neglected for over 100 years. And I've recorded an album of his music, and actually I'm going to play one very short piece of his in the concert on Friday. It's very, very virtuoso kind of piece. I have a feeling the students might enjoy it because it's fun to watch as well as to listen to. But I play a lot of classical music. I always have. I mean, I love playing the music of Bach, and Chopin's one of my great heroes. And I also, when I have time, I try and write my own music too. So.
Can you talk a bit about your composing? I see that one of your pieces will be on the program Music Box. What started you on composing, and what's your approach?
Yeah, well, I used to compose a lot of music when I was a teenager, and then my career as a pianist just put a stop to it. I was too busy performing concerts, and I just stopped composing, which was a real shame. But then, about 8 years ago, I was involved in a really serious car accident, unfortunately, and it was life-threatening, and I spent a year recovering from my injuries. And during that time, I couldn't play the piano, and so I began composing music as a way of occupying my mind. And to my amazement, I got hooked on it. And ever since then, I've been devoting more and more time to writing music. And for me, I mean, it's hard to describe the music I write. I just basically write the music that I want to listen to. Is all I can say. People just describe it as being fairly romantic and fairly tuneful, I guess. But it's just something I'm very very attached to doing.
And being a pianist, do you write at the piano, and do you write for other instruments as well?
It's mostly piano. I also love singing. I mean, I've written a lot of songs for classical songs for soprano voice and other singers because I think the human voice is amazing. But I have to say, selfishly, most of the stuff I've written is for the piano because I like playing it myself. So yeah, there's a couple of very short pieces I'm putting in the program on Friday.
And are there other things about Gershwin that you'd like to share? Something that you've learned through studying his music and his recordings that particularly speaks to you?
Well, I think he was just a remarkable creative mind. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest composers that ever lived. I think, if anything, he's not taken seriously enough. I think as the years go by, he'll be taken more seriously. But, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's up there as one of the great composers. He easily stands alongside, Chopin and Brahms and other people. And sadly, he died very young. He had this serious illness, and he died tragically young when he was really just getting going. But I think as the years go by, people will begin to realize just what a colossal genius he was.
And when you come play at Elkins, will this be your first visit to West Virginia?
Yeah. Well, apart from just a brief drive-through, yes, it'll certainly be my first performance in the state. I'm looking forward to it.
And well, we're definitely looking forward to your concert here. And just anything else you'd like to add about music that you're going to be playing here, or projects that you have going on?
Well, just say I love working in the States. Every year I usually do a concert at Carnegie Hall in New York, and I just also love meeting the students. I'm really looking forward to talking to the students and and just sharing my enjoyment of music with them.
Well, Jack Gibbons, thank you very much for talking with me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.